In today's video, I want to shed a lot of clarity on the dating crisis and relationship crisis in the West. And I'm going to be arguing that women do not understand male attraction towards women very well. So I'm going to first try to prove to you that women are very confused. I want you to ask a bunch of women, or if you're a woman, think about this question yourself. What body type do men like the most? You're probably going to say skinny. And I haven't done a study on that, but I've asked a bunch of women. So from my anecdote, most women think that men like skinny women. But when you actually ask men, most men say they like fit women. Okay? They don't like women with skinny chicken legs. They like women who are more full. Okay? So a lot of media portrays like this anorexia as like something good, right? So there's a lot of confusion based on all these different things. Now, the next thing where there's a lot of confusion comes from people thinking that male attraction towards women is a single dimension thing. Okay, so evolutionary psychology gives this very simple explanation. Then you have like sociology giving this very simple explanation. Everything's culture and so forth, right? But it's not a single dimension. Okay, all of these dimensions contribute towards male mating preferences. Okay? So first, we're going to take 4 men. Okay, and each of them has their sexual preference. It's like a game show, right? We have our 4 bachelors. Okay. Now, the first guy, a lot of people are going to dislike them. They're the pedophile. Okay. This dude is only attracted to children. And when I say children, I'm not talking about a 19-year-old. Pedophile today means you're attracted to like a 27-year-old. I mean, they're actually a pedophile. They're only attracted to like a, 6-year-old. Okay. Prepubescent. They haven't gone through puberty yet. Okay. Second dude is homosexual. This guy is gay. And the third dude here is he's attracted to women who are in their childbearing years. So let's say, ages 20 to 40, right? And our fourth dude here, he's only attracted to old women. He's a gerontophile. He likes women who are, have wrinkles and lots of gray hair. So the question is very simple. Which of these 4 candidates is most likely to have a kid? Well, the pedophile is certainly not going to have a kid, and children can't have kids. The gay guy certainly isn't. Men can't have kids yet. Maybe in the future. And this dude, who's attracted to women in their childbearing years, he's very, very, very likely to have a kid. So we're not going to write him off. And then the fourth person who's only attracted to old women, he's not very likely to have a kid either, right? And I'm giving you the middle finger. I did not mean to do that. Okay, so this dude is certainly going to be the one who's going to pass on his genes. Now, remember, all of this is a probability distribution. Okay, so what I mean by that in plain English is, in reality, it's not so simple, because in reality, a gay guy, he might have a preference for men, but he might still have some level of attraction towards women. A gay man can still probably impregnate a woman. A pedophile can probably still impregnate a woman of childbearing years. A gerontophile probably can, but they're a lot less likely to, have a kid successfully than this dude, right? So it comes down to probability. So over time, this person's gene, we're assuming that his sexual preference is genetic. Over time, this dude is attracted to women in childbearing years. He's very likely to have a kid. His kids are very likely to have kids. Their kids are very likely to have kids. And this guy tends to dominate. He's going to become the dominant preference, okay, over time. These other people, they're still going to exist, all right? Even if there's no psychological factors involved, just through evolution, remember, these people are also still going to probably exist, but, it's not going to be as likely or as common as this dude. And that makes perfect sense, because when you actually look at the data, very few men are homosexual compared to heterosexual. Very few men are pedophiles compared to men who are attracted to women in their childbearing years. And very few men are gerontophiles either, okay? These are all very small minorities of the population. This tells us a lot about male sexual preference. Men are generally attracted towards women in their childbearing years. So age is a big part of it, all right? And, there's a lot of women who are confused. They say all men are pedophiles. No, they certainly aren't, okay? You can look up some data on this. Around 4 to 5% of men are pedophiles. It's a very small percentage. The next major evolutionary factor is health, okay? Health is a very big factor too. Okay, so let's take this first person who's attracted to very, very sick women. He likes women who are in very bad health. And we have our second candidate, and he's attracted to women who are in very good health. They're like athletic and jumpy, and in their prime years of health and all this, right? So which of these people is more likely to pass on their genes? Well, it's certainly going to be this dude, okay? Because he's going to marry a woman who's in good health, in a younger age, and she's going to survive childbirth, and she's unlikely to pass on a bunch of genetic and hereditary diseases to the child, right? So the child is likely to survive as well. Now, this other dude is attracted to a really sick woman, right? Well, there's a good chance his girlfriend is going to die in childbirth, right? If she's frail and in bad health. And there's a good chance their kid is going to die too if the kid inherits this bad health, right? So our male sexual preference is also oriented a lot towards health. Just like, people are afraid of heights. People are very naturally afraid of heights. That's a genetic thing we inherit. Our fear emotion works based on this, like heights, our perception of heights, and male sexual preference and sexual emotions naturally works a lot around age and health. So those are some big things. And now I want to talk about body types and how this relates to age and health. Now think about this obese body type, okay? Most men are not going to find obese women attractive. And the reason, I hate to say it is a shallow thing. I'm not trying to defend it and say it's a good thing. But the reality is most men perceive obesity as bad health. If you ask them who's more healthy, this obese woman or this, fit woman, right? They're going to probably pick the fit woman, right? And as we get older, we become fatter. This is a general trend. If you look at, kids, they're usually all pretty skinny. And then as people get older and older, they become fatter and fatter, right? So this is true with both men and women. So being skinny, or not necessarily skinny, but having a lower body fat percentage is very directly related to age as well. It's very strongly correlated to age. So most men are less probable to find a woman who's fat to be attractive, okay? The second thing is, really skinny woman. Okay, well, being skinny is a sign of youth, but being really skinny is also a sign of like being a kid. Kids are really skinny, and most men aren't pedophiles, so most men don't like really skinny women. And the second thing is being really skinny is also associated with bad health. In general, people are skinny because they don't do any exercise. Women who do sports tend to have some muscle mass, right? They're not like this skinny chicken leg, right? So men are therefore, on an evolutionary sense, they're attracted most towards women who are fit, because women who are fit are both young and they are both healthy. Okay, next in evolutionary psychology is novelty. Okay, novelty is a very big thing for men. And what I'm saying is, if you ask women, if a man finds his perfect preference, so let's say he goes through all these different women, he goes through a picture of every woman on the world, and he chooses the one he likes the most, right? Will that man always find her the most attractive? No, very unlikely. It's very likely this novelty factor is going to kick in, and he's going to find another woman more attractive after a couple months or so, right? So, if you ask a guy, what is his preference for red hair, blonde hair, or black hair, brown eyes or blue eyes, green eyes? Does he like a convex nose? Does he like a straight nose or concave nose? If you ask him at different points in his life, I can almost guarantee you he's going to give you different answers. And culture also pushes novelty, which is a bad thing in my opinion. Now, why does evolution favor novelty? Well, it's very simple. We have two men. We have our good-hearted monogamous man who wants to just only have sex with one woman. And we have this player dude, this gangster player dude who wants to have sex with a million women, right? Well, which guy is going to have more kids, okay? Well, this guy, he's very likely to have a kid, but he's also, not likely to have a million kids. This other dude, like Genghis Khan or something, he's probably going to have like a bunch of kids. He's going to go around, rape a bunch of women, hook up with a bunch of women. He's probably going to have way more kids than this dude, right? So these guys, they're certainly going to pass on their genes. They're certainly going to continue to exist, but you're going to get more guys like this, okay? So in general, evolution is going to favor this dude over this dude, right? And so over time, men get this genetic preference for novelty, and this is something that is a big problem in relationships. Okay, most men will probably always have this desire to have multiple partners, or have more attraction to other women. So, and the solution to this, in my opinion, is not to change male nature, not to change their sexual nature, right? But it's to teach them a value for love, because love is monogamous. Sexuality might not be monogamous, but love is monogamous. And when a man is deeper, more emotionally deep, it doesn't even matter. Like he might find another woman more attractive than you, but he has no desire to cheat because he only loves you. Okay, so that, in my opinion, is the way to deal with. And I see too many women, they always blame themselves. They think like, well, the reason why a man cheated on me or has interest in other women is because I'm not pretty enough or this or that. No, it's probably not. It's very likely just because of novelty. That's likely the bigger factor going on here. So a man who is, a slut, he's going to have more kids than a man who's committed and monogamous. But a woman who's a slut, she's not going to have any more kids than a woman who's monogamous. And the woman who's monogamous is also more likely to have a man care for her than a woman who is a slut. And that's a big problem in ancient times, because in ancient times everybody's going around with a sword and trying to rape and pillage and kill everyone, right? So, male protection and resource providing does really matter a lot when it comes to primitive survival, okay? That's the harsh truth about biology, but I want women to understand it. It's important to understand how it works, and you can do things to combat it and improve it, but let's stop pretending that this isn't how it works, okay? Now, I want to talk a bit about mutation, okay? Mutation is a very big part of biology, and most mutations are not beneficial. Most mutations are harmful to an organism. So if I just grow a lump here, that's probably not going to be beneficial, right? If I just grow like an extra 10 teeth, that's probably not going to be helpful. It's probably going to give me a whole bunch of infections and problems chewing and things like this, right? And most mutation is not beneficial towards the organism that gets it, which is why mutation is generally bad, okay? So, if you bombard a person with radiation, it's usually bad for their health. It's not good, right? Getting a nuclear blast is usually going to hurt you. It's not going to help you. So some mutations are beneficial, and this is why evolution happens, okay? Most mutations aren't. And so our psychology associates mutations with bad health generally, okay? So, for example, if I have like a really big nose like this, right? This is some really, deviant genetics from what would be considered normal human biology. Very, very mutated nose. Generally, people are not going to find that attractive. Or if I have like an extra head attached to my shoulder, or something like this, some enormous head or something like this, right? So what the science of what psychology was finding, they say the more average you are, the more attractive you are, and that's kind of true. Okay, so there's some truth to that. What they really mean is that when you have gross genetic mutations, this is associated generally with poor health and survivability. So this makes you less attractive. That is the correct evolutionary psychological explanation. However, being more average does not make you more attractive. It only does to this extent that we're removing gross mutations, right? Because the reality is being average actually makes you less attractive in a lot of ways, okay? So, for example, the average age of a human is around probably 35, but the average age for childbearing, optimal childbearing is much younger, right? Or, for example, the average person has pretty yellow teeth, but, people are more attractive if they have more white teeth usually, right? So it's not true completely that being average makes you more attractive, but basically not having a whole bunch of really weird mutations does make you more attractive. That's true, right? So, that's a thing, and that sucks for some people, right? Because if somebody has like a really gigantic nose or a really big head, there's not a whole lot you can do about that, right? That's kind of the harsh reality of how it is, and you have to understand that this is part of how people perceive health, right? Now, the good news is that male sexual preference is a lot more elastic than just evolutionary psychology. Your personal experiences play a very large role. your subjective preferences play a large role. Culture plays a large role. There's all sorts of other things that play a role. Your philosophy plays a large role. What your values and moral beliefs play a large role in what you find attractive. So it's certainly not just as simple as evolutionary psychology. So one good example I can give is nose types. Okay, so ask men. There's no real preference men have between convex noses, concave noses, and a straight nose, right? Many men like each type. And but the reality is, I didn't know this until, because my girlfriend, she has a concave nose. Her nose is like a ski jump, right? And there's actually some health disadvantages to a concave nose. Like a straight nose is actually better in terms of health, because when you have this concave nose, it has a lot of breathing issues, and a lot of junk can get trapped and jammed up in there, so you can get more breathing problems, right? So it's probably more healthy overall to have a straight nose, but it's not like it really affects male attractive preferences much, right? Like I don't know any guy who's not going to date a girl unless she has a straight nose. I've never met any guy who thinks that way. So there's a lot of elasticity towards it, and even other things like you can see culture has all kinds of weird effects too. Like in Chinese culture, they had this crazy foot binding thing where they would crush women's feet into this very small shape, and these deformed feet were considered attractive, right? But that's obviously against like your natural biology. Naturally, you like health better, right? So maybe small feet you can associate with youth, right? But like you're trading, 80% health for like plus 4% youth look, right? So overall, like the overall picture is a lot worse in terms of evolutionary psychology, right? But people still found that to be attractive. Or you can look in German culture, they had this thing where obese women were considered attractive for a while, right? So there certainly is some, culture. Culture certainly has a role and an influence too. And individual male preferences also matter as well, right? So, for example, a man might really have a good experience with the color red. Maybe maybe he had a car he really liked that was red, right? This was his favorite car, or favorite bike or whatever. And then maybe he likes women who wear a lot of red clothing, or who have red hair or something like this, right? So, these personal experiences and subjective preferences also play a very large role. Now, I'm not saying that sexuality is nearly as simple as just this physical aspect. We're just only talking about the physical aspect in this video, okay? Because there's also the whole psychology, and maybe I can make another whole video on the psychology. Obviously, the woman's personality matters, and a man is looking for like different personalities depending on whether he wants to hook up, whether he wants a long-term relationship. There's all this different stuff, and then like how status matters. Like if a whole bunch of guys say, "Oh, that girl over there, she's so attractive. Oh my God, you'd have to be a king to sleep with her." That's totally going to affect male psychology. All these men are going to start chasing that woman, So there's all these other things. I'm not saying they don't exist. They certainly do exist. We're just talking about the physicality in this video, okay? And maybe if you want me, I can make another video on the psychology. Now, the other thing about the that I think is really important to mention is that for both men and women, the physicality is like mandatory, okay? For 99.99999%, this physical aspect has to be there, okay? And I know people are going to say that's shallow, and yeah, it is shallow, but like the reality is it has to exist. And it's kind of weird because men are always like shamed for these physical qualities they look for in women. But like women have the same thing, okay? So ask any woman, if you met a guy who has a really good personality, right? And you like him and you're attracted to him, and then I took his brain and I put it inside the body of a 4-year-old girl, are you going to be attracted to them? Of 99, if they're being honest, they're going to tell you no, right? Because it's obviously not true. Very few women are pedophiles. I don't know any girl who can be turned on by a 4-year-old girl. And I think it's a big flaw in our society how we shame men for shallowness, but we don't also shame women. And in my opinion, we shouldn't be shaming anyone. What we should be doing is we should be trying to understand how this stuff works and trying to make ourselves less shallow. We can figure out strategies to deal with this biology. We can have better philosophy. We can figure out